Pastor Heitzig, I don't think it should be of any surprise to people who know the Bible that America has to decline because, and I'm not going to get into the whole issue of globalism. We talk about it on this program a lot, and the fact that the Bible does predict a coming one world system. So that obviously it's not a one world system, and then America is sitting off in a corner here, still the superpower. You don't have a superpower when you've got a global system. My hunch is it's no surprise to you when you began to see America kind of in decline, correct?
Correct. Your hunch is accurate.
My hunch again is you don't expect to see a real sharp turnaround.
No, only if by the grace of God he sends the Bible.
That's right. Well, and I get chastised sometimes if I don't talk about revival is coming. I do see revival in the tribulation. There's tremendous evangelistic activity going on then. I guess I read about the church in the latter days, one pretty much filled with apostasy rather than revival. Am I off base there?
Well, I agree completely with you, and I think you have pushback on this because a lot of American evangelical Christians think that God is an American for some reason.
Mm-hmm, true.
And that he agrees with their political stance and political ideologies. And so, they just somehow have to fit all of that together, and that's a mistake. I'll even go one step further. Though I'm praying for revival, and I would love to see it, I hear people say God is going to judge America, and they quote things like what Dr. Billy Graham said, that if God doesn't judge America, he owes Sodom and Gomorrah an apology, which I agree with. That's a good sentiment. However, I don't necessarily think God is going to judge America. I think he is judging America. I think we're in smack dab in the middle of judgment. Because it says in Romans that the first step in judgment is that God gives people over to what they want, a debased mind, homosexual activity. They want it, they got it. And that's when God's restraining hand is off and gives them over to what they've been crying for, you know that they are entering into the judgment hall of the divine. So you're right. I am not surprised it's happening. These are conditions that have to be, as the Bible predicts, it's got to get bad. First of all, Zechariah says all nations of the earth will posture themselves against Israel. So when we have policies that go against Israel, I'm not surprised. It's not typical of past U.S. history, especially recent history.
That's right.
But it is to be expected if you are informed biblically.
Well, having said all that, and that's kind of a heavy thing that we talk about that frequently on this program, and having said all of that, how do you encourage your flock in light of what you've just said, because it's hardly hopeful, encouraging news, and particularly for younger people who are starting to raise families, would like to have another 30, 40, 50, 60 years to enjoy some of the fruits of their lives. How do you encourage them in light of what you've just said?
I like to encourage them with the same words Jesus encouraged his disciples with, when he said, when you see these things beginning to take place, lift up your eyes because your redemption draws near. And I would tell a young family starting out, I would rather spend eternity with my family than just 50 or 60 years on this earth. And that's what we have to look forward to. Heaven is a real place. It's the reality, and it's the ultimate goal of all of us. And yes, we make an impact for Christ, and we raise families. And I think of the Babylonian captivity when the prophet Jeremiah told the captives, look, you're going to be here a while, so while you're here, seek the good of this country, get involved in its government, do all that you can to make it a better place, raise families, plant vineyards, but in the end, you're not going to be here that long. Your posterity is going to go back to the homeland that God had for them. We have to think in those terms.